Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's live trading session, along with a review of the week. Just turning the TV volume down a little bit there. Obviously, non-farm payroll in about 9 minutes from now, slightly under 9 minutes. You'll see I just closed a sterling trade that I put on a few minutes ago, a little bit early. We are going to see some fluctuation over the next few minutes as we get ready for non-farm payroll, and more than likely going to see a fairly big movement in one direction or the other. I have one Dow trade in the market. It's about 100 points away from now, maybe not as many as 100, maybe 80 to 90 points from where we're currently trading. Just looking at the Dow, we'll go through all of the markets just briefly. Just looking at the Dow, we are pushing back to the highs that we've seen recently. You can see here probably just above 38,610. So I think my limit's in about 645, 647, something like that. But if we put the, I'll just close this screen down. So if you do have questions, please send those through to me, and I will do my best to answer them during this particular session. So this is the high that we traded up to over the last few days, 38,610, 615. We've pushed back fairly close to those levels. A little bit earlier today, about half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago, we've traded off a little bit. We're back down to about 38,550. And just really waiting for this non-farm payroll number. For those of you who got the voice note this morning on the trading channel, there was, I mentioned this morning about data and about what might happen with non-farm payroll. The estimated jobs addition is 187,000, which is down from 216,000 last month. Obviously, there's going to be revisions, lots of different ways to interpret this data. But we're very much in a bullish market, a market that wants to go higher, wants to see interest rates, is enjoying an exceptionally robust economy, and it doesn't take too much to push this higher. I do think there is a limit to how high we can go. We've had the big tech earnings. Meta, I think, traded up nearly 12% after the close yesterday. So it's difficult to see where the next piece of good news is going to come from in the near term, in the medium to long term. That good news is certainly around interest rates and the timing of that, whether that's going to be as early as March, where the market was anticipating that, or whether that's more likely to be in May, as I would expect. When we're talking about interest rates, the belief, sorry, I was struggling for a word there. The belief that the market was going to see an interest rate cut in March was close to 90% probability. That's down to 37%. So in a little over 4.5-5 weeks, the chances of a March cut have pretty much evaporated. Jerome Powell didn't completely rule it out. I think he did say that it was unlikely, and obviously will be data dependent. But if we do get some good data in between now and March, I do think that there could be a very small chance. If you want to make a big impact on the market, is you announce that rate cut when it's not expected. So always in the back of my mind, and then you would see a significant move to the upside. May well be that you see that turn around and go back in the opposite direction, but I do think that initial move would be to the upside. So with the Dow at the moment, 3.5 minutes, or just closer to 4 minutes to go until we get the number. We're just hovering around that 38,550 level. So we see the drop off that we got after the Fed here. A bit of trading yesterday, again touching those lows yesterday before we've rallied and pretty much wiped out all the negativity that existed around the Fed announcement and also the conference that followed it, and we're hovering at this 550 mark. So I touched on it briefly. I touched it more on the voice note that I left this morning. I think whether the number is better than the 187 number or higher than the 187 number, I think you can make a case for both outcomes to be positive, and that's why I do think there is a bit of this market is likely to go higher regardless of the number, unless it is very outlandish and significantly bigger or significantly smaller than the number that is expected. So it's 187,000 is the expectation, and the unemployment rate is expected to tick a little bit higher, up to 3.8% from 3.7%. So let's just see how wide or how much better or worse that number is. I think if we come in around that number, we're probably seeing a market that goes a little bit higher. Yes, there will be some profit taken at some point. I have my limit order slightly above the previous record. It's a Friday. I'm not necessarily sure that there's enough appetite in this market to close out at a record high. So I'm reasonably happy this afternoon to sell into those rallies as and when they happen. So looking at the other markets quickly, sterling, the trade that I closed, unfortunately has dropped down another 5 or 6 points just since I've been talking. Quick look at gold trading towards the lows of today, around the 2053 mark. It's been a very narrow range. This is only a 1 minute chart. Even if I put that out to a 5 minute chart, you can see how narrow the range has been today between about 2056 and 2053. We are going to move out of that range this afternoon, but gold has rallied reasonably well over the last number of days. You can see the rally here from about 2030 all the way up to about 2065 yesterday before coming off. Again, dependent on the number, how the indices react, could well be that we see a decent movement in gold as well. I am short the markets keep moving into different places. I'm short the euro at 108.81. The euro and sterling have picked up fairly significantly off of their lows earlier in the week. That's the only position that I have open. So I'm going to react reasonably quickly to that. I have a fairly tight take profit in. I can't remember the level, to be honest with you, around the 74 level, I think. And we'll just see how that reacts after this number is announced. With the DAX continuing to trade slightly below that 17,000 mark, we've been above it briefly today. Even if I bring up a daily chart here, you can see that we've been at or around this number. Probably, that was the first attempt above 17,000, dropped all the way back to about 16,350. Another attempt, the first, apologies, my phone has just gone. So I think that euro trade has closed whilst I'm talking to you. Let me just double check that. So sterling has dropped off significantly there. Sorry, there's just one thing I need to do very quickly. So it's a big number that's come through, 380 I think was said. So that's come through significantly higher than people were expecting. And we've seen these fairly big moves in the market. So unfortunately didn't get that Dow trade away. You can see that the Dow has fallen away, trading around 100 points lower. So my euro trade closed. The gold has moved down to 2042. The DAX has had a bit of a sell-off. It's probably faring a little bit better than some of those. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to buy the Dow quickly, just because I didn't have a trade on, and I think the number came out probably a little bit quicker than I was expecting. But I just think, again, going back to what I've said prior to taking that trade, I think there is a way that the market is going to make a positive story out of this number regardless. Listening to some of the revisions that are coming through at the moment on the market, sterling has ticked, the Dow's ticked up quite nicely there. For those of you, there are opportunities to get out of that trade. I think I bought around the 46 level. We're currently trading 56, 58. A little bit of volatility in there. We've seen that the euro and sterling, after hitting those lows, are finding a little bit of support. I think what I'll do, because we're just going to move on and look at the trades for this week, so I'm just going to put a TP level into this trade and just see if that gets taken during the remainder of this piece. So you'll see that the TP level just going in there, that will come through on your phones shortly. I can hear it coming through on mine now, so you should see that shortly as well. Going to leave the currencies alone. The trade closed out quite nicely for me. The euro trade, the Dow trade that I've put on is around the break even at this point. I think there was probably 18 or 19 points or pips worth of profit for you a little bit earlier, but I didn't react quick enough for that. Sterling's dipped back just below that 127 number, and the euro has fallen all the way down to about 108.24, 25. There's an argument to say that you wait for the number and you try and work your way through it. There would have been some fairly decent profits on those currency trades. Earlier today, the euro was trading at 108.96 and looked like it had the appetite to go higher. So the Dow trade at the moment is a little bit against me. Not too worried at this particular point. Happy to wait for the opening bell just to see what goes on there. The unemployment rate came through at 3.7%, so unchanged month on month. Expectations were for it to tick up, but it's held a little bit firmer there. So for me, the robustness of the US economy is ringing out loud and clear, and I think the positive story that may emanate out of these particular numbers and the moves that we're going to see hopefully later today is that a soft landing is the more likely outcome of the recent rate hikes, and we're not going to see some of the other issues that abound around that. So just going back to the results for this week. So I have one trade to add in here, which is a Dow trade. That's the only trade that's open. The euro trade and the sterling trade are now both closed. So we're hovering around the 200 pips profit for the week so far. Couple of issues during the week. Didn't start particularly well. Was the wrong side of the Dow on Monday as the market started to move higher. Again, Tuesday not a particularly good day, but then from Wednesday onwards, bar a couple of silly moves, silly moves on my part as opposed to silly moves by the market, the profit would have been a lot bigger. So on Wednesday, there was a lot of Dow trading, as you can see, around and after the Fed decision and the conference that followed it, and was doing well, picking up, selling into rallies initially, then buying on the dips, and then probably bought once or twice too many times towards the close and got caught with 104 pips on the closing bell. Again, yesterday, very good day, everything green. And then later on decided to get involved in the currencies. The currencies have moved aggressively higher, and some strange rate decisions, not rate decisions, but rate votes coming out of the UK and sterling, which had been trading at around 126.20 earlier in the day, rallied all the way up to about 127.60. I started selling it around 127.05, and unfortunately got caught on those. So I got caught on 2 sterling trades, 1 euro trade, and that ruined what otherwise was a fantastic day. And then today it's been fairly slow, fairly steady, but a return. So now I'm just long the Dow and looking to work that through during the remainder of this session. As I've said, if you do have questions, please send those through to me during the remainder of the afternoon, and if I don't get back to answering those today, then I will answer them tomorrow. The Dow has continued to fall away a little bit, and the currencies, if you look at the currencies now, you've got sterling 126.82, probably 80 pips away from where I was trading it prior to the opening bell. Euro down to 108.12, again 75 pips away from just before the opening bell. So I'll probably look for one or other of these to recover during the afternoon. Gold has had a fairly big move to the downside. We were trading above 2050 all the way down to 2036. The Dow is holding around or very slightly below the level that I traded. So I'll just continue to monitor that during this afternoon. Only the one trade open, and I will update you accordingly on Telegram very, very soon. Don't think there's anything else in particular. The DAX, again, it's quite resolute. Obviously, it's not US data or completely US data dependent, so it's hovering around that 16,950 level. The Dow is picking up a little bit now and pushing towards my TP level, about 10 points off of it. So I don't really see, or I don't have any appetite to change anything at this point. There was probably 15 pips of a profit in that trade again for you. You may be greedy like me, or you may have taken that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you here, get back to Telegram, and update you on trades during the remainder of this afternoon. It was fairly fast and furious, lots of things to cover during that particular session. So questions, send them through to me, nick@bullandbearcap.com or sam@bullandbearcap.com, and I will answer those. Probably about we did go 2 or 3 pips away from my TP level, but there is a bit of volatility at the moment. Thank you very much for joining me, and I shall speak to you shortly on